Hello, everyone, and welcome to PRM Chats. Of course, I'm your host today. I'm taking over for the amazing Hillary Honeybee. Of course, I'm Dr. Bates, Dr. P. Weber Bates, CEO and founder of Project Resiliency Movement. This is actually our fourth in a four-part series that we're doing for Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're focusing on the strong woman who we all say needs support the most. That's actually our official campaign line, and of course, Mental Health Awareness Month is all the entire month of May. And of course, we're coming to a close and we're bringing it to a close. And as we do that, we wanted to reflect on today's topic, which is really overcoming. And all of us today as guests will be sharing little tidbits in terms of our resiliency stories. What were some of the things that we use as strategies to help us to overcome? And of course, what allowed our resiliency to kind of kick in. So I want to welcome our guests. Who are here officially for this week's PRM Chats. And I'm going to go from my left. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself.
Hey, everybody. I am Shima Latanya. As many of you know, if you don't know, I'm Shima Latanya. I am an author, a speaker, and a life transformation coach, as well as a proud board member of Project Resiliency Movement.
Yes, sir. Of course.
Hey, what's poppin'? It's your girl, Tasha. You know who I am. I'm going to be out here doing what I do, excited to be able to come and have this transparent conversation. So let's talk about it.
And we have a seat that will be filled pretty soon in the next 2 minutes or so by our other Be Ambassador, Tasha, Ruth. So we'll welcome her as she comes on into the room. But again, let's just kick it in high gear because, of course, we got an hour. We want to get as much in as we can. This topic is juicy and it's amazing that we can actually be on the other side of many of the things that we overcome to even have this conversation and dialogue. So I'm looking forward to just like the dialogue that we're going to have here, that we normally have as sisters, that we just thought would be amazing to bring to you, the public, in terms of sharing our overcoming stories. What made us resilient? What were the tools we used to kind of equip us to overcome the things that we've gone through? And of course, I just want to dive in. So let's get it going. So some people seem to be born with the ability to overcome setbacks with relative ease, while others really struggle with it, and it becomes a challenge. But it's all due to a trait that experts call resilience. And of course, we know resilience really well as Project Resiliency Movement. But according to Dr. Robert Brooks, people with resilience have a greater sense of control over their lives. That's what he says. That makes them more willing to take risks. And he also says that because of their optimistic outlook, they are more likely to develop and maintain positive relationships with others, as well as having more meaningful lives. And of course, I love to kind of have interactive discussion. As we're bringing the topic to you, we want to make sure that you're in the chats, kind of like sharing your opinions, your thoughts as we're talking. But we're going to dialogue amongst ourselves as sisters like we always do. But I guess my first question to both of you ladies is, what do you think about that statement that Dr. Brooks says, which is people with resilience have greater control over their lives? What do y'all think about that statement?
I mean, I'm listening to the whole thing. Y'all know we keep it real.
100%
for real. And y'all know I have been through some stuff this year. I don't know who he interviewing. I don't know if they're telling the truth.
Facts.
I don't know if they're being real in these little sessions. I don't know what he really done, but I feel like there is. I know for me, I feel like I'm resilient, but I don't always feel like I'm in control of my life. A lot of times, especially this year, I'm out here feeling like, dang, bro, where am I dropping the ball? Like, what done happened? Like, I also have to step back and say, okay, what's going on right here? I do feel like I'm resilient, but I don't feel like that necessarily means that I feel like I have control over my life at all times.
Yeah, I feel like the two are not mutually exclusive. When I read this, I was like, this is with the group I got, I know this is going to evoke some controversy.
But even when he was like, oh, they're always optimistic. I'm like, oh, really? Are we? Because I know a few weeks ago, I was ready to throw it all away. I was sick of everybody.
The whole kid.
I mean, I may not, ultimately my optimism will kick in, but I do have my moments. I'm like, I'm ready to throw all.
That's real talk.
Away.
That's real talk.
Yeah.
And I expect nothing less from y'all ladies. All right, so go ahead, Tasha. What you think?
Control, no, not hardly. When I think, and I was thinking about this yesterday, what is resiliency? What does that really mean?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that just means you can't be stopped.
Mm-hmm. Right.
No matter what obstacle comes against you, it is not going to stop you from achieving your goal. Now, bear in mind, that could be good or bad.
Yeah.
It can go either way.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially it means you can't be stopped. Now, does that mean you have control? Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that you bob and weave real good in the middle of the fight.
Right. Amen on that right there. That's a good one.
That's basically what it breaks down to. You bob and weave real good in the middle of the fight.
Right.
And yeah.
Welcome, Tasha Ruth.
Hello, ladies. Happy Saturday.
Thanks for joining us.
I forgot how Tasha had that lipstick on without looking in the mirror.
What we were talking about was this statement by Dr. Brooks, where he says that people with resilience have greater control over their lives. And we were kind of disputing the fact that we don't always feel like, because we have more resilience and we've gone through more things, that always equates to having more control over your lives. So what do you think?
I think it's just that we just know how to handle the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And we cognizant of our surroundings and we are aware.
Yeah.
So the only thing you have to do is push through, right?
Right. All of that right there.
And to tie it into the beauty of risk. And I am a serial optimist. So unfortunately, if I don't believe I could ever lose, then what's gonna stop me?
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much how it is. I mean, if you're a believer, then you believe that the fight is fixed and you win no matter what. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Therefore, if you moving and an obstacle comes against you, you push through, because it's not going to stop you. You still have to reach your goal. But the beauty about being resilient is that in taking those steps towards your goal, in battling that obstacle, you become better at moving forward. You become more efficient at moving forward. Some people fold under pressure. Is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing. It's all about how you get back up. But resilient people will fold. We like the Rockies of this bitch. We'll fold, we'll lose, we'll take the ass whooping, but you best believe we coming back to get the belt. You best believe that we have always been a champion. We got champion heart. We pump nothing but courage. So no matter how much we catch that jab to the jaw, we're going to spit that blood out and come right back at you. You better keep strong. You better keep that jab coming, because as soon as you take a pause, I'm going to lay you out.
Better be ready. That's the thing.
Yes.
But the thing about people who are resilient, when they get in the crunch time, when they get into that crunch, that's when they become unstoppable. Because it's like they have the tenacity and drive to be successful no matter what. They're not gonna fall. They're gonna fall, get up, get back, and they're gonna say, I'm gonna do this. Because winners are gonna always win. When you have that drive in you.
I see. My analogy is, every time I think about my own resiliency walk, I think about a locomotive. So like a locomotive, you know, like you better just get out of its way. Like, you know, like you can't really stop a moving locomotive. You know what I mean? Like, and especially sudden, like, you know, like you might get trampled, you might get run over, but like the locomotive is gonna keep going. You know, irrespective of what comes in its way, it's still gonna push through and still gonna, you know, like it's probably gonna knock things out its way as it's aligning with it. But like that's the analogy that every time I think about, you know, it's like almost like you're gonna bulldoze your way through, you know, and it might not always be pretty. You know what I mean? Like, so resilience doesn't always look pretty. And I think that's just the point I wanted to make too. It's like, it's messy. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it's gonna hurt. You're gonna get bruised up, and it's not always gonna look pretty at the end of it. But the whole ideal is to keep going. All right. So what are the folks saying in the chat? Who's here?
This is YouTube. I can't see the
okay. So I think Judean's here. Judean's saying, Tashala, I swear, whatever I hear you speak, I like about it, Tashala. I think it's better. You better get up and do the damn thing. Yeah. So that's Judean. Okay. All right. Thanks, Judean, for being here. And it looks like Cordia's here too. Hi, Cordia.
Hey now.
All right. So listen. Let's get into it. What are some of the things that you've had to overcome? And we can go from Tasha and then work our way this way. What are some of the things personally as part of your own resiliency story that you've had to overcome?
Weight loss. And that's big for a lot of women because that's part of our image, right? And how we present ourselves. So Losing over 60 something pounds was really hard. It wasn't easy. There was times I cried. There was times that I wanted to give up. There's times that where I felt like I was spending so much money and still was not losing weight. So even though so many people can tell you how to lose weight, it may not work for you, because everybody's body and mechanism is made up differently, right? What worked for Tashala may not work for me. And so you always have people who are nutritionists, so-called nutritionists, so-called trainers.
Everybody
and
does
they could tell you what they did to lose weight.
Right.
Or sometimes people could say certain things to you and they may not think it's hurtful, but when it is, and in your mind, you're like, listen, I'm really working on this.
Right.
And so that is something that I had to overcome, was the struggle of me losing 60 something pounds. And that's really near and dear and personal to me, because I worked out really hard. I was doing the gay, I was doing kickboxing, I was doing cycling, and no weight loss, right? But guess where it starts? Right here.
Mindset shift.
So if your mind...
It became a lifestyle choice.
It's a lifestyle choice. And it wasn't that I was eating crazy or anything, right? But if you don't sleep, if you don't get enough rest,
Come on now.
It's the formula. It's a science to it.
Yes. And if your mind is not right, so it's all about peace and harmony all at the same time with weight loss. Yes, it's 90% of what you eat, but at the same time, if you're not sleeping, you throwing your body off. It creates a steroid. And those are the things that I had to learn, and I had to work through all the different changes, and even with who I am today now. Looking in the mirror, how many women look in the mirror and say, oh, I want to lose 10, 15, 20 pounds, but cannot do it? And since the weight loss, I have had so many other women approach me and say, Tasha, how do you do it? I take the stairs, I walk 2 miles every morning, and I'm still heavy set.
It's real.
What's the answer? And it's real. So those are things, but I stay on top of it no matter how much it hurt me, no matter how much money I spent, no matter how many different places I went to talk to therapists, pounds for weight loss, for transformation, all these different things. It took for one thing for me to get there, and that was for me to find peace and rest within myself.
Beautiful, beautiful. And as these ladies are sharing what they had to overcome as part of their resiliency stories, we need you all to drop that in the comments too. What is something you had to overcome, an obstacle, something that was super challenging for you, and it really tested your resilience? We want to hear from you in the chat room too. Go ahead, Tasha.
All right. Failure. After failure, after miss, motherhood is a hell of a teacher. And you find ain't no books for it, but you find your canine teeth as you are raising your children. As I hit various obstacles, and for those who don't know, I had 6 kids. So it was 8 of us in the house, 8 mouths to feed, 8 bodies growing. I had a set of twins, and not the same sex. I had a boy and a girl, so I got different kind of clothes, different kind of feet, different kind of hair. It was just a lot of failures. We left Connecticut, we moved down south, and basically doubled our family size. Because we had 3 kids, and then when we moved down south, I found out I was pregnant with twins. Yeah. So being that we relocated, it was a struggle. Let's see. Eviction, lights off, gas off,
Real.
water off, laid off.
Real.
Just car repossessed, just all kinds of things. So like getting to the bottom and thinking that you could rely on a specific person because they blood related to you, and I'd be the one person that'd be like, yeah, no, I can't do that. What? I helped you though. You can't. That no? Whoo! That shit's like an uppercut. Especially when you have sacrifice and giving to someone. So when you get that no, that shit hurt. But at the same time, I still had to figure it out. Lights off, same time, still got to go to work, still got to get kids to school. Hey, guess what? We're going to work this out. I'm going to figure something out. And then we're going to keep on moving. went from cute, fancy to downright gutter. It was like, hey, look, God,
Go look.
what you give me 6 kids for if I couldn't feed them? Like, that's not what we're supposed to be about. That's not what I read. So something need to happen. Where's the disconnect? I'm upset. I'm frustrated. I don't have no worship in me right now. I need answers.
That's real.
What's really going on? And a lot of times when you start to get quiet, you hear, hey, you dealing with your bad decisions. Now what you gonna do?
Back on you.
Are you going to be bold enough to ask for help in the middle of how you made your bad decisions? Take the criticism that come with the help and then make sure you don't get back in this position. That's some humbling stuff right there.
Ask the audience that question.
Can you do that? Can you be humbled in the midst of an obstacle when you realize that the reason you in it is because you made the bad decision? And then go ask for help? I had to learn how to do that. And it's difficult for me to provide advice now to people who want to avoid the obstacle. What you mean avoid the obstacle? What you think because you 25 you ain't gonna get burned? Man, you gotta go. There is no over, there is no around, there is no under. The reality of life is that if you want the prize, you got to go through. You got to take the blows, you got to get burned, and you got to go through. You have to find out what the hell you are made of. You have to find out.
That's how resiliency comes forth.
That's how you know what you can do. That's how you know that you have been built for the purpose that God designed you for. He can't take you to other levels if you can't take no blows.
That's
the situations that you come up against are here to grow you up. If every time you come up against a situation, you like,
defeated.
Why me? Defeated. Why I gotta struggle? Why I gotta go through? Because you always asking why you, and you never asking how I'm gonna get out of this. You never thinking about a solution. You going through this because you keep letting your emotions drive you instead of your mind leading you to a solution.
Guess what? And it's a cycle. It's a cycle. So God will have you in a cycle of that same thing. Unless you learn the lesson of that thing. You be in the same, it's a pattern and a cycle. It's like a washer. You be in the same cycle.
You're going to do it until you get it right. You're going to do it until you get it right. You want to know why you stuck? It's a lesson you're not learning. And it's some wisdom that you have, but you're not practically applying. What is resiliency? Resiliency is the ability to reflect on your bad decisions, accept your failures, and move on. You ain't got time to sit in that spot and gloat. You ain't got time. That's where my optimism comes in. Hey, look, all right, my bad. I did that wrong. I got to move differently because the ultimate goal is success. If I'm trying to reach success, I have to be willing to learn the lesson.
Absolutely.
You can't say that you want it, but you don't want the lessons that come with it. Because the lessons is what teach you how to hold on to it when you get there.
Tasha, what I've learned is this. For everything I've wanted, the question then became, what was I willing to sacrifice?
Come on now, how bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it? God was like, okay, listen, you want it? Okay, what you willing to sacrifice for that?
How bad you want that jump?
We did a lot of amens. And are you going to be accountable?
Okay.
Accountability is
huge.
Share.
No, I have a couple. I'm trying to figure out how to word this, because at the same time, I do want it to be very well known that God does give freely, that we're not always on a carrot. There is work involved. You cannot bypass the process. When God gives freely, the process is part of your development. In saying that, I want to make sure that we're very clear to people who might be newer Christians that God is not holding a carrot and saying what's happening is when you go through your process, when you say, this is what I want, the reason why you go through the process, I always say with King David was anointed king Jewish culture, he was about 12 or 13 years old, probably about 12 years old. He was anointed king, and he could not go and become king as soon as he got anointed. When David got anointed, he had to go back and do what he was doing because there was a process that he had to grow into. David had to solidify his place with God. He had to solidify his own growth. So when we see him going onto that battlefield to fight Goliath, that was his first notch of, this is who God is, and let me show you who God is. As he began to minister to King Saul, and he became that confidant, God was putting him in that position. And then to be put in this position, and I'm going somewhere with it, to be put in a position where God needs you to be, and then all of a sudden you're ripped from that position. Mm-hmm. So King David was put in that position because that's where God needed him to be. He needed him to be in the king's court. He needed him to be a presence. And then he was ripped from that position when Saul began to hunt him through jealousy. And even through that process, there was it wasn't a okay, I'm holding this kingdom here. This is the carrot. It is a David, I need you to grow through this. So I really want you all to know that when you're going through this, it is a full process of development that we don't always like, right? Mm-hmm. So then David begins to, and a lot of times when you are ripped from your positions, when you're ripped from your seemingly place of power, we have to let that go and go into the wilderness where God wants us to go, because that was a seemingly place of power. He just needed him there so he become a presence. He ripped him away, and then he ended up traveling in caves. He ended up running for his life. He ended up saving people along the journey. So now David goes from leading himself to 300 men, 600 men, 1,200 men, and then eventually an entire kingdom. And through all of that, David had some moments where he was definitely, why hast thou forsaken me? Which is actually more prophetic. But he went through those moments of, why are you not with me? Why are you not here? What am I? What is this? And then there is one particular song where he commands his body to look up, where he commands his body to think differently. He says, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. That is not just I'm saying this, that is a command in the middle of the wilderness, that I can't forget what was done for me. So a lot of us, we're looking at this process, and I want to make sure that many of you do not blame God for why you are going through what you're going through, and understand that this is the process that you're going through, because you're getting to a kingdom level. Now, when David becomes king, now he can handle being a king, because he knows what it's like to lead small, to lead through some nonsense, to lead through the wilderness, and to actually lead. The one thing David did not do that I really want to encourage us to do when we talk about resiliency, he did not tell his son Solomon he did not accurately train his son Solomon to honor God no matter what. David was not perfect, but he knew how to get back to God. So he did not train his son. He trained his son in the ways of agriculture, in the ways of riches, which is what a lot of us talk about. Mm-hmm. He trained his son in the ways of gathering things, but he did not train his son in the ways of resiliency and the ways of sticking with God. And for that reason, that's when we begin to see what should have been a gifted, chosen kingdom ripped apart. And that's what many of us have to remember to do with our resiliency. When you get to that level, you've got to be able to share that out. And as I say that, that's also me preaching to me. If Althea knows, but once I made the decision to become a minister, December 28th, I preached for the first time in 14 years. December 29th, my father was in critical condition, and they said he was going to die. And then they said he was going to be blind. So I had to dig into my prayer pocket, reach a new realm of faith. And we prayed. When I tell you, we prayed and fasted for his life, and he lived. And then they said he'll never see again. We prayed and fasted for those eyes. And he's driving around now. But the amount of energy that expends. 2 weeks after that, my mother has an accident, and she has a severe concussion. So there is one day where I'm on the phone with the doctors in DC and the doctors in Maryland for both parents. That's this year. And then 2 weeks after, my brother is almost crushed to death and was in a semi-coma for 2 weeks. He's getting used to his body, but it's still not the same as it was. And in between that, my daughter tests positive for COVID. That's within a 3-month time frame. I am tired. I'm tired.
Mm-hmm. That's real.
I am exhausted. I've had to pray, and I became the top one to pray and lead the family spiritually. I've never done that before. I am tired, I'm exhausted, and I had my God, why me moments, which is why many of you have seen that I pull back from social media for a little bit, because I have to restructure and refocus. And that's also part of resiliency. Knowing when to take a step back and rest and hear from God. Mm-hmm. I definitely had a why me moment, but like our sister Tasha said, God is not turned off. You if you don't have a why me moment, you have to get back up. And I need you to understand that God is not turned off when you yell, scream, holler, fuss, and have a why me moment, because that signifies an intimate relationship with God. Job did it. Now, quite often God has to read me and remind me of what he has done for me. Okay? God has to say, Shima, sit on down now. Remember this? And I'm like, oh yeah, you did do that. When we talk about resiliency, remembering, and I think also that's why I'm able to get through it, because I remember what God has done for me. Yes. I prayed that prayer of faith for my father, and he can see. And the doctors have no clue how he's able to. They said, no, this shouldn't be possible. At this point in time, I prayed and fasted for my brother. They said he won't regain use of his right side until next year. I just heard from my mother today that he shaved himself yesterday with his right side. And if you saw on Facebook, he's moving. But I'm still tired. I'm like, okay, God, I'm exhausted. And that's okay. Just remember, when it comes to resiliency, as I'm listening to everyone, I'm like, wow, you also need to remember that in those moments, don't forget all the things you've already made it through. You already have a track record for winning. You tell me one thing, you put in the chat box, tell me one thing you have not survived. And you can't do it because you're still here. And if I can just tell one funny story, I remember my birthday, I was having some struggles. Business was up and down. Okay, I need you to know, taking a break from social media, everybody thought I was crazy. I lost a lot of money, but I'm at peace, and I know what God will do. That's it. I remember on my birthday, that night that you all took me out, I was around 2 o'clock in the morning. I didn't want to go out. I was crying to God. She tried us, y'all. I was crying to God. I was like, God, you don't care about me. I got to get these bills paid, and I don't know what's going on with the money. Now I have to go into savings. I'm crying my eyes out. That was at 2 o'clock in the morning. By 10 o'clock that night, money had come through, and I had my nerve to be sitting up. We had gone to that fancy restaurant, and I had my nerve to be sitting up with my feet on the table, eating custom-made strawberries and drinking Moscato. What is this? Come on now. Right. That's the guy we serve. In a custom-made glass. What is this? So, as I'm listening to you all, it's especially as I listen to Tasha and I think even Tasha, you're touching on some things such as image. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I do not expect a whole lot more pictures from me because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the messages of, how's your weight loss going? I'm tired of explaining my workout regime. I'm tired of the men. Do not invite me to no more of y'all little parties and say, oh, because we expect you to come through dripping. I'm tired of doing that too. I didn't want to put on makeup today, but I did because I had to look some kind of right. But I'm tired of that too. Because when we talk about, the weight loss, that's why dealing with that is why I had an eating disorder for so many years and why I almost slipped back into one now. I'm sick of all of it. All of it. Because there are other things to think at, there's other things to do, there's other things to focus on, and many of us are fighting for our lives, including our weight. And don't nobody need that extra stuff. I don't know why I just went off on a rant. People need that. That's not somebody a rant. That's real stuff. Yeah, that's real stuff. Somebody needs that.
People in the magazine, they see these videos and they think that's what we're supposed to look like. No, we're people. I am human. I am a person. I am who I am. I am Tasha Ruth. This is me. Yes. You cannot make me into somebody who I am not. This is my makeup. But other people say, oh, your stomach needs to be on flat. You need to have. I have a full No. I'm gonna say this. I am a woman. As an image consultant, my role, I feel like my role is to bring the best out of people naturally who they are. Right. You know what I mean? Like my clients, I want to make sure that you feel good about you, no matter what size, weight, shape, whatever you bring to the table. There's something worthy of bringing forth that you already have. It's in you. Yeah. It's in you. You don't got to be nobody else.
That part. You don't have to fit into a mold. No. That's why it's important to pull back from social media because it's a bombardment of expectations from people who can't uphold their own expectations. Like they want you to be their advocate. They want you to give them all the information. Man, you got a whole computer in your hand right now. You asking me how I figured this out? I stopped asking questions and I started using what I had access to and went searching for the thing that I wanted to have. You must do the work. You can get information from people, but they are not. It is not their job
to walk your walk,
to constantly guide and motivate you through your newfound process in the middle of the process they found. Like just because somebody is willing to share where they are doesn't mean that they are the thing that you need to anchor to. No, anchor to your goal.
That's important.
Yes.
Someone needed to hear that.
Yeah, because as a life coach, I always like my biggest thing is I always tell clients, if you can, I love when a client flies without me because I've done my job. I've taught you the power within yourself. You've been able to reconnect with God, and now you can fly without me. That is amazing. Yeah.
When you can stay in your lane and do what you need to do.
But my thing is with resilience, you got to learn how to tap into yourself.
Yes.
So many of us looking for resilience in things and people and places, and you got to tap into yourself. You already have every bit of what it takes within you. It sometimes it's just because it's an untapped. Here's the thing. You're your own untapped resource.
Yeah.
That's what I really wanted to say.
Yes.
You are your own untapped resource, and the reason why you're flailing and struggling is because you haven't tapped in. I did a whole live yesterday on tapping in, and really, what is the reason why some of us refuse to tap in? We're looking for it, like you said to Charlotte, in things and places and people. You got to tap into you. Yeah. And sometimes when you feel like you're flailing and there's nothing to hold on to or grasp to, it's because you're not going inward. You're trying to find
everything outside of you. That's why
it's in the chat. What's your superpower?
Yeah, what's your superpower?
What is your superpower?
Write that in the chat.
Good question. And let me tell you,
resilience is my superpower.
Yeah. And if you don't know, I want you. If you don't know the answer to Tasha's question. Tasha said, right in that group chat, write in the chat. What is your superpower? If you do not know the answer, I'm gonna need you to get like a notebook and write Tasha's question at the very top of it. What is my superpower? And really begin to reflect on that, because you have to know what is your superpower. The reason why so many of us are flailing as we go about, and if I could be really transparent, it took me a while to learn my own power and then to go forth in that, because we're looking at so many other things. Why am I not like her? Why am I not like this? Why am I not doing it their way? Maybe I should do it their way. Baby, God does not qualify the call. God does not call the qualified, He qualifies who He calls. So your purpose, He's going to call you forth with a purpose, no matter how unqualified you feel. You're going to get qualified, but you've got to be able to tap into what's in you to know that. You can't keep looking at these outside sources. From someone who spent a good chunk of her life on social media looking at all these different outside sources. Why does my body look like that? Why am I not bringing in that much money this quarter? Why am I not doing that? It's exhausting. You have to look within yourself.
And it's okay too not to be on social media every day.
Come on now. Take a sat. Be okay with taking a sat.
You don't always have to be
in the middle of everything.
The influencer.
Right.
What are folks saying to Charlotte?
All right. So Cordia says, don't compare yourself to social media models.
Come on now.
And Maxine said, yes, Cordia. And then Cordia said, breaks are necessary. Judine said, the world is at your fingertips. Cordia said, anchor yourselves in God, then yourself.
Come on now.
And then Cordia said, you are your own untapped resources.
You are.
Superpower equals courage. That's Cordia. Unapologetic is my superpower.
Awesome.
And just that, I want to come back to anchor yourselves in God. When we were talking about when you're flailing and you kind of don't know which way you want to go, first thing I thought about is, well, what is your foundation? And this is not to exclude those who believe differently, because foundation is foundation. If you have a foundation and you believe in your creator and your creator left you principles and you follow those principles, stand strong. I can only speak from my experience as a believer, as a Christian. So for me, my foundation is God. And if I have untapped resources within me, It's the God in me that I am not tapping into. Because if he left himself in me, for me, with gifts so that I could do and walk out my assignment, there's nothing I can't do as long as I'm aligned with what God's purpose is.
Let me tell you how that aligns with scripture. Okay, so let me tell you how that aligns with scripture. When we talk about the storm on the ocean, Jesus says to his disciples, let's go to the other side of the ocean. A storm must break out. That storm broke out so bad to where there was water going into the boat. My man Jesus is sleeping. He on REM sleep. Like homie is knocked out. All the disciples are running around like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Teacher, don't you care that we're drowning? And then Jesus wakes up. He goes out, he looks at the ocean, and he says, peace be still. And then he looks at them and says, do you still not have faith? Jesus was irritated, not about the storm, because he knew that was going to be calm. He was irritated that they didn't tap into the faith that was in them to calm the storm themselves. They start hollering, Jesus, teacher, don't you care? We about to drown. Now my man got to wake up. Really, he's looking at them like, I already told y'all. I gave you the power to calm the storm. What's in you should be accurately reflecting what's outside, and you ain't done did it. Now I got to wake up and do it, right? So that goes in line perfectly with what you just said. There are all the storms in your life. When you're talking about you're being tossed to and fro, and when we really talk about resiliency, you've got to understand that you've been endowed and endued from God on high that has been left with you. That's why you saw we were left the Holy Spirit, the Comforter, our help. You have been endowed with the power to maneuver that. Is it always going to be optimistic? Of course not. But you should, I think what Tasha was getting to, you should have a layer of optimism that you could always reach up to. When you have some days when you wake up and you're like, yo, I ain't shit. I'm just turning the phone on doing this. Of course. But is it supposed to stay there? No.
That's right.
But the Bible also says don't be surprised by trials. Right? So that tells you that they're gonna come. Yeah. And it's like it's almost like how you gonna ride the wave. You know the wave is coming. You gonna ride it, you gonna go under the wave, under the current. Like what's gonna happen? Like you know it's to be expected.
Well, this was good.
But this is the reason why God have us go through certain things so that we can have testimony, so that we can sit here.
Come on,
so we can reach out to somebody else.
Tell.
So He's gonna bring you through all of this so that you can help somebody else. So you can put your hand out and say, come on, sis, I got you. Because if you don't do that, then why did you go through that storm?
Exactly.
Why did you
for
go
somebody
through that
else? It's definitely not just for you.
Somebody else needs to see that you remain resilient, that you remain steadfast, so that you can go back and help everybody else.
Let me tell y'all something. So when I was in Georgia, your girl had to get some street cred, right? So I was riding dirty, and your girl had a warrant. And so I'm thinking I'm about to get a ticket, and they like, nah, the female officer's about to come take you to county. And I'm like, dang. All right, so maybe I get off on my own recognizance. No, you failed to appear. You got a cop a squat. Let me get you your orange outfit and your white sports bra and your white drawers and your white socks and your damn plastic shoes that don't fit. Meanwhile, they filming First 48 in DeKalb County Jail, and I'm sitting here like,
ain't this about a bill?
I can't forever be recorded in my bad decisions.
Bad decision moment.
Now, mind you, at the time, I was in Bible school. The lesson that we were on was the fruits of the Spirit. Okay? The fruits of the Spirit. One of the fruits of the Spirit is long suffering. So I'm going to jail.
She said, I'm going to jail. Love it.
It's long suffering.
I get inside my cell. My cell is a metal slat. I ain't got no pillow. I got a sheet. This thing is cold. The girl sitting down, the girl that's in the bunker underneath me has a leaflet from my church with grapes on it, talking about long suffering.
Get out.
I'm like, all
That
right.
lesson was real.
Wow.
I'm like, this is some real stuff going on here. I'm in jail. It's old ladies arguing. It's young girls arguing. They making milk carton letters to prisoners in the window to the. I'm like, Heather, you ain't got no relationship. This is milk carton notes. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. So I think I'm about to get out. I got my clothes on. They about to transfer me to the other jail because my ticket was in another county. Girl, it's a long story, but I'm trying to tell you something, right? Trying to tell you something. Just when I think I'm about to leave, I got my clothes on and everything, and I'm like, Lord, just get me out of here so I know I'm closer to the end. They say they're not coming to get you. I got to put you back in the orange outfit. They come back with this tray. When I tell you how the tray, they had the food and looked like it had been kicked around on the floor. And then they called it meat and gravy. But then they threw the gravy in this kicked around tray that had brown clumps floating in it. When the man brought me the food and told me that was dinner, I broke. Like, I can't be here. I need to get to the end of this, right? I get to the next jail. They give me a shower. I got a mattress that got a pillow on it. They leave the TV on and the cell door open all day. They have books. What book do I go get? T.D. Jakes, and he's talking about the 6 pillars in Ephesians. And I'm like, okay, God, why am I here? The next day, a bunch of women come in. And what do?
You start teaching.
I talk to women.
Come on, Paul.
Ministry.
So I'm sitting here talking to these women. They in tears. We having our moment. And I looked this woman in her face. And I said, if the only reason why I had to do these 10 days was to get here in this moment and speak these words to you, it was worth it.
Hey, look.
So
Let me go on ahead and tap into my own resilience and be grateful right now because I'm going through with perfectly manicured hands, some good wigs, my bills paid, and a coach purse at home. I'm not willing to go through all that. So let me go ahead and stop acting like I'm going through so much.
God understands our long suffering.
Okay, like everybody is built different.
That's real.
Everybody is built different.
I ain't got it in me. Y'all
That's such a good point.
But those 10 days, like that lesson that I learned, the fact that I could come tell you, hey, I might not have knocked no teeth out nobody's throat. It wasn't assault, but I did my 10 days in an orange suit.
10 days.
And in the midst of being in my 10 days, I still hit my foundation.
That's a testimony.
And let God use me for whatever he wanted to use me for. Because I knew at the end, he was going to get me out. At the end, I was going to walk out the door. I wasn't going to be there long. It was a temporary situation.
That's resilience.
That is.
I don't like orange.
But the thing about it is, what you just said, it just brought to the point home that you're really built for your resiliency journey process. You're built for your own resiliency journey process. The lesson of resiliency journey that Tasha went through ain't for Shima.
No, it's not.
It's not
for Tasha. Right.
But it's totally Tasha.
That's right. So if you have manicured nails and you don't want to do the orange suit,
I can't.
guess what? She got some information for you. If you want to go ahead and push hard and pretty like you want to and rock your doggone hat, guess what? She got some information for you. But if your ass been to the bottom of the mother, I'm your girl. How deep you fall?
Now the reality is that's why it's important. When you're going through resiliency, that's why it's important to be yourself and not be anybody else. Because there's something for everybody. Everyone watching this can connect with each woman.
Mine is I had to break a couple legs and bones and whatever else, and I had to not walk for a whole year and learn how to re-walk again. That's the foundation for my resiliency lesson.
I ain't never had to teach myself how to walk again.
Right. I couldn't even take myself to the camera. Like somebody had to shower me, wipe my behind. I had to go through rehab, learn how to drive a car again.
Yep, that's my
brother. It's like, like that was my lesson process and journey. Like everybody ain't built for that. Everybody ain't built to break 2 legs in 1 year. And can't walk. That's not. Come on now. Like,
dang, I need to stop complaining.
Like that's you know what I'm saying. We're all built for our resiliency journey, path, and process. Now let me get to this question. So looking back, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the skills and the competencies that you felt like maybe you lacked, right? That would have helped you progress to this part of your story. Are there any competencies and skills that you probably lacked, right, in terms of your resiliency journey that would have probably helped you here? Or did you think that you had everything you need to get you to this space?
I didn't know who I was.
Mm.
I always say my daughter, the reason why I'm so proud of her is less about her accomplishments. It's more about the fact that at 18 years old, that girl knows who she is. And she does not have to touch the fire to know it burns. She can look at that joint and say, nope. And she does not give in to peer pressure. She does it her way. And if you want to call her grandma, she will say, I'm a grandma with no drama. And she will do her thing.
That's the lady that knows herself.
I did not know who I was. I was very insecure. So I tried to find my release in alcohol. I tried to find my release in my looks. I tried to find my release in everything except for who I was and who God made me to be. And I believe that if I had known who I was, if I had been real with myself and stopped living this created life that was happening on, on social media as it was just burgeoning, right? If I had just stopped and realized who I was and had more confidence in myself, I thank God for where I am now, but I think I would have been here earlier, And I also, I found myself I jumped into a marriage very early because that was secure for me, because I didn't have the confidence in myself that I can do this on my own. You know what I mean? So I definitely lacked those skills of just self-awareness and self-knowledge and being secure in who I am. I watched my kid and this guy came up to her and now I'm getting nervous. I'm like, okay, I don't want no guy that's, we all got that one guy that's going to knock us off our toes. And this guy came up to her and he was gorgeous and he saw the beauty in her and whatnot. And she looked and she was talking for a little bit. And I said, what happened? And she goes, oh, he don't know how to get to school on time. Anybody got time for that? I got things to do. You're not about to distract me. And she
saw some competency she didn't like in him.
And I said, now mind you, I would have been up in there. I don't care what you fine. We about to do this, maybe. We about to be toxic and all get out together. But I definitely think I like
That's amazing.
That. I would have been further.
But again, that's a testament to the resiliency that skills that you've actually learned and then passed on.
Shoot, I was pouring. It was like I was sitting like pouring into her. Like, this what you're not gonna do. He gonna be 6'3". He gonna be chocolate. He gonna be built. But child, stay focused.
Right. So I'm just saying, like, that's a testament to the fact that we know better, we do better, and then we teach our kids to do better once we know better, right? So what about you? Like, what skills or competencies maybe that you lacked back then that would maybe have gave you a little edge in terms of your resiliency journey?
I'm gonna have to shout out Georgia, DeKalb County, Decatur Where's Greater, and all my big bone sisters in the A. Moving down there gave me my teeth. It was an incubation moment. I couldn't perform like I wanted to. I couldn't do the things that were naturally in me. So I was like this frustrated seed. And like I said, I had I love my church, World Changers Church, and it was pouring into me. Like when we went through Bible school, we took enough classes in 2 years to have a bachelor's degree.
Wow.
Like we was in school. The pastor was teaching us. His class was at 8 o'clock on Saturday, and he started his class with a quiz. 8 o'clock, 8:01, you're late. You've missed the quiz, and you can't come until after the quiz. So
discipline.
It was so much. There was so much planted in me. And then the reason why I have to shout out my big bone sisters is because these sisters had so much confidence. Like, you can't tell them Nothing. You can't tell them they can't wear 6-inch heels. You can't tell them they not rocking that wig. You can't tell them they face not beat. You can't tell them they ain't going to the club with the best outfit, taking all y'all men. You can't tell them nothing.
True. Yeah.
Now, if my girl can have that confidence, in spite of what the world tries to tell her who she's supposed to be, then you best believe I'm right there with her, cheering her on. And if I got on a dope outfit, I got on a dope outfit. But if I'm the hippie I am, then I'm grunged out to the T, and you're going to expect and respect my shit.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to accept myself. I learned how to be okay with sitting down for a minute. I learned how to be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I learned there's a time for you, and it ain't right now.
That's a good lesson right there.
Yes.
Yep. That's a
lesson right
hard lesson to
Yeah.
learn, especially when you know you have the ability and you watch other people do it, and it's but not and you're like, man, if I could just.
If you would just release me, if you could just release
right.
me.
If you just tag your girl, just but it wasn't for me to be tagged in Georgia. It was for me to be nurtured and to get my teeth sharpened in Georgia, because my assignment was Connecticut. I was polished and given my teeth to come back and lay foundation here like never before. So that is the catalyst to my resiliency. That's why I'm so bold. That's why I can love so hard, because I know I'm supposed to be here. That's why I can run up in schools and talk trash to Board of Education members, because number one, I don't work for you, but number two, I'm gonna hold you accountable.
Come on now.
What? So when you, like you said, everybody is built for what their assignment is. And my assignment requires that I have all the fire that I have.
Absolutely. You came to what? Slave for what?
I came to slay dragons.
There you go.
What? Gorilla faith. You better watch yourself.
Let's go.
And I got my sister's back. So watch it 2 times. You heard me?
Oh, you heard her. Tasha, what about you, honey?
Some of the things that I lacked during my journey, during my struggles, is confidence and having low self-esteem. That's another thing that I had struggled with. Most people were probably me even saying this to sound crazy, because when people see me on the outside, they wouldn't think that I had those inner struggles, right? Another thing that I also lacked at the time is being able to reach out and say, I need help. You know, sometimes people feel like you're a one-man show, one-woman show. You don't need an army to help you, but you do need an army to help you.
Yeah, you do. You need a battalion.
Yes.
I said you need the first battalion to pray for you. When they get tired, send in the second battalion.
Right now.
You actually need those things. So a lot of times I was moving in silos, moving in secrecy, doing certain things. Nobody didn't know all the things I was doing for like almost 2.5 years. Literally. So I kept all that in. And then I wear my emotions on my sleeves, right? I'm rough, I'm hard. You know, I appear to be aggressive sometimes in my responses, but that's not really the case. I'm going through something because I'm not sharing it.
Right.
That's the issue. I'm not sharing it with other people. I mean, down to my mother, my father, my daughter, my sister. Nobody knew what was going on with me. Not even my closest girlfriends knew what I was doing. I did it all by myself. And in the end, I realized you went about it wrong. I was praying, I was reading the Bible, I was fasting, sowing seeds, but I was scared to share my story because I think it was more so fear. Fear, judgmental, what people will think, or you should do this, or you should do that.
That's real.
I didn't want to hear what everybody else had to say. I needed Tasha to get together, come together as one to conquer her fear and to do what she needs to do mentally, physically, so that I can be healthy. That was the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all about, I'm heavy set. Well, I started getting health issues, and it started from grief. So people think that people become fat because they eat. No, that's not the truth.
Yeah, y'all need to stop. I'm
That's
sorry.
not stop.
It's the Facebook people that we all know on
People
Facebook.
don't
Y'all working my nerves.
Yeah, people don't understand that. Oh, well, you eat. No, I don't eat Big Macs. I don't eat garbage. I don't eat none of that stuff.
You can get away from depression.
Depression, yes.
Stress can give you
depression.
There's other outliers here.
Grief, your work life, all that sort of stuff. When you're unbalanced,
sleep.
It creates a steroid that where your body now starting to gain weight, or people say, oh, you don't eat all day. That's slows down your metabolism. So people don't understand all these different things that you would do. And like I said, the skill that I lacked was being resourceful. Reaching out to people to help me. And even if you don't want to reach out to somebody who's close to you, that's why you have insurance. Reach out to a professional to assist you, to help you. And even though you're going through all these different journeys and talking to these different people, it's really a process. It's like a protocol. It's like nobody's not hugging you through that process. It's like a robot. You're like a machine going through all these different, like I'm leaving work. Oh, I gotta leave work at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I'm going to my appointment. I'm coming back. Doing all these different things and never told a soul.
Robot mode, right?
You are
what I call it autopilot.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that autopilot. Let's talk about that autopilot a little bit, because I think a lot of people are struggling with that whole I'm on autopilot.
Yeah.
And and what that does to you internally, just being on autopilot, not necessarily feeling, emoting, reaching out, connecting, like that whole autopilot mode.
So
because you're overwhelmed with all the things that are coming at you, just on constant autopilot.
Let me speak to that piece. So you're right about being on autopilot, right? So now I'm on autopilot. My daughter in college, not getting really any much help. When you get into a certain tax bracket, you're not eligible to get all that free stuff, right?
Right.
So I was talking to Althea last week, and I was telling her, so now, like you said, when God wants you to sit down, he'll have you sit down. I was out of work for like a month and a half. So I was living, and I was like, let me prepare for this. I work in disability. I know my check not going to come on time when it's supposed to, and all this other stuff. Been putting money to the side. Out of work, never got my disability check while I was out of work. I didn't get my check until I got back to work. So good thing I'm smart enough to know to stack my cash so that I can have something. But ultimately, guess what? I learned that I can live off one check. So I was talking to my daughter, aunt, so she asked everybody like, oh, to pray for them. I said, well, you know what? I want you to pray for me to help me with Taylor, with her getting through school and stuff, because these bills is coming fast and furious. Like I'm just kicking out money for school, paying for books, car insurance, all types of stuff I got to pay for. And this is solo, like just doing this.
That's
real.
real.
And I'm not a person to ask anybody for anything. I'm going to make it happen by any means necessary.
That's why.
Let me tell you. She said, Tasha, stop going out for 30 days and see how much money you save. I told Althea last week, I said, people don't know you could really live off one paycheck. And I was telling you how I stopped buying stuff, how I got a storage full of stuff.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't make sense. I just recently went to Aruba. I didn't even go buy clothes. I wore clothes that I had at home to go on this trip because we overspend. We spend so much money, we don't think about it. Oh, it's $10, it's $5, it's $20. But where's all that stuff going, right? I still got the storage. But what I learned from that piece, it taught me to sit down. It taught me to say, oh, you don't need to spend all your money. Just because you have it don't mean you need to do it.
Right.
I lived off one paycheck. And when I sat down, I was like, wait a minute, I'm making my breakfast. I'm making my lunch. I'm making my dinner. I'm not going out. Okay, you want some drinks? Go to the package store, you put your drinks in the house. You make better drinks at home anyway, right? So I learned that by me going out being social, I'm spending so much money. So let's think about this, you guys. You buy lunch every day, right? $10. You go get breakfast, $7, right? Then you go out to eat for dinner, you spending $40, $50. Times that by 3. Plus, then you go out with your girlfriends on the weekend. Y'all all divide the bill. That's what, another $70. Then you go out again on Saturday. Sunday, you going to brunch, right? After church, right? You still spending more money.
Right.
How much money did you spend that whole entire week? Times 4, times 52, and then put interest on it.
Not interest.
Guess what? The pandemic also set me down again. Because guess what? I'm working from home, been working from home over a year. Kid you not. How much money did you save during the pandemic? How did that make you stronger? How did that make you look at what you have been doing over this whole entire time and being able to accomplish a lot of things that you were not able to accomplish before? Because guess what? I was too busy bouncing around, going to every event in Hartford, going to every gala. Now I'm focused.
Trying to be seen.
Yeah. Now I'm focused on me.
Social media.
Yeah, I'm focused on me and
Mhm.
being able to accomplish my goals. You said anchor your goals, right?
Mhm.
Right?
Anchor
that-
yourself.
yeah. So during this time of the pandemic, what have you ladies have done? What
Mhm.
have you accomplished? What have you overcome since the pandemic? And
Right.
beyond?
That's a great question. Please answer that in the chat. What have you overcome since the pandemic started? What lessons have you learned? During this whole sat down. I call it a
And
sat down.
have you birthed any new projects that you've been trying to birth? Because a lot of times when you run it and you're not thinking, you think you're thinking, you think you're executing, but you're really not.
Mhm.
Your hands in like 12 different places.
You know what I've learned, and I heard somebody do a whole lesson on this recently. There's a difference between being busy and being productive.
Mhm.
A lot of us we're in busy mode, but we're not producers. We're not producers of things that are tangible that can help somebody else, or investments, or things we can pour into other people, or to create something that that could generate legacy. You know what I'm saying, for others. So again, there's a difference between being busy and being producers. So as we're closing up, I really want to go through this list. There's a list of about 10 things that I've come across in terms of just my own journey and process, and just like lessons that I've learned along the way, as far as overcoming obstacles in your life. Things I've learned. 10 things I've learned about how to build more resiliency. The first is I've learned to stay flexible. Right? So resilient people expect to face challenges at different points in their lives, but you stay flexible, stay nimble, right? The second was learning lessons. Learn the lesson the first time so you don't have to be repeated and stay in the cycle, right? It's a cyclical that wears you down. Staying in that cycle, that's what wears you down. But if you learn it the first time and go through it, learn it one time and done, you know what I mean? You learn it and you reap the benefits of those lessons, and then you share them with other people. You pour that back out, pass that forward. Third, take action, right? So there's always going to be an opportunity within your obstacle that you're looking to overcome to take some type of action. You're always going to have a choice, right? You're always going to be forced into a choice. Now, the difference is, what are we choosing? Some people think that not choosing is a choice. No, you have to choose. There's gonna be some fork in the road that you're gonna come interface with that you're gonna have to choose. So again, take action. The fourth thing is stay connected, right? Plug in, tap into those accountability partners, those folks that can support you, but mainly tap into God, right? Tap into the main source, right? But again, don't be afraid to use those accountability folks that God has aligned you with in that season, because He's never gonna leave you alone. He's never going to leave you hanging out there with some folks that can support you. Okay. Again, number 5, will release tension. Find ways to release your tension. If it's walking, if it's yoga, hiking, like what Tasha does on a regular, find ways to release your tension. All right. 6, have a sense of purpose. Right. So know that at the end of this thing, the lesson, the trial, the test, there is purpose in it. There's purpose in and through it. You're gonna have to go through it to learn the lesson and the purpose, but there's purpose in it all, okay? And identify that and have a sense of that purpose. That it's not a why me situation. It's an opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. 7, learn healthy habits, right? So learn healthy habits. Make sure you take care of your temple, take care of your body, your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit. As you're going through being tested, things will come down and wear on your entire being, your whole holistic man. Okay, so find ways to stay healthy, build healthy habits. So you're nurturing yourself as you're going through these things. Number 8, believe in yourself, right? Believe that this thing did not come to break you, right? But come to teach you, right? So believe in yourself enough that you'll get through it, right? Believe in it and trust in the fact that you serve a God that's not going to come to break your back. But guess what? He might bend you a little bit, but he ain't come to break you.
Right.
Okay? All right, number 9, keep laughing. Find reasons to laugh in the middle of the test, right? Find reasons to be happy and to be joyful in the midst of it all. Like my sis said over here, find reasons to be grateful, okay? All right, and the last one is be optimistic, right? So find reasons to stay optimistic. The glass is half full. Yeah, it might look half empty, but it's also half full, okay? And there's reason for you to have joy. There's reason for you to to find peace, to find in the midst of it, in your storm, find things that will bring you joy, peace, and to maintain those things for yourself. So again, my own personal just lessons learned in terms of tools that I've used to overcome and to stay resilient in the midst of the things that we go through. Any last words? I want to hear last words from each of you. Bits of advice, whatever you want to share with the folks in terms of the whole idea of overcoming your resiliency story.
Listen, y'all, it's a cliche, but y'all know cliches are cliches because they're true, right? Smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. Okay? Tasha said it perfectly earlier. You're not going to know what you're made of until you're in the thick of it. I 100% believe in signs, miracles, and wonders. I 100% believe that I now believe and know that if it's in God's will and I pray a prayer of faith over somebody, healings can happen, wonders can happen. I would not have known that. I would not have had a more solidified anchor in my faith had I not gone through pure hell on earth this year. But there is a fourth man in the flame, meaning, and then I'm going to be done. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were in the flames, people were looked and said, there's a fourth man in there. And that fourth man was that angel of God that was protecting them from the flames. They had to go with it, but there was a fourth man in the flames. So whatever it is that you're going through, remember at all times, there's another man in the flame with you, pulling you through and strengthening you and teaching you and guiding you. And there is so much power on the other side of it. You can't tell me nothing about what God can do. And you sure can't tell me nothing about what I can't make it through, because I done already made it through.
Come on now. Made it through the worst that you could imagine. Imagine making it through the worst thing that you could ever imagine.
Half my family almost died this year.
Right. Right. So that's Shamar's worst, right? So mine is, not having a car, my home in foreclosure, losing my house that I keep my kids in. Like that, we all have these things that are our worst of our worst that we can imagine, and we're still standing, right? So what's your worst that you can imagine yourself, and if you put that in God's hands and know that whatever the test comes to test against that he still has you. He still has you. You're still kept. Go ahead, Tasha.
You were built to succeed. You were designed for this moment in time. You are here for a purpose, equipped and prepared. All you have to do is be bold enough to walk it out. And if you aren't, tap in to what you need in order to be bold enough to walk it out. Because no matter what, you're going to have to walk. If you don't walk, you must be dead.
Gotta crawl. If you can't walk, crawl.
You got to move. Because if you're not moving, it could be for a purpose, but at the same time, you're built for success. You are built for success. Don't let anything or anybody tell you different. Ever. If you ever forget who you are, pick up your scripture. You are the apple of his eye. You are the head and not the tail. You are above and not below. That sounds like success to me.
Amen.
Yes.
And if you don't know, pick up the scripture to remind yourself of how great you are and what greatness lies within you. And then go get it.
Yes, sir.
Come on now.
We're closing out with Tasha.
She believed she could, and she did.
Yes.
There it is.
There it is. That's all I have to say. And out there, I know we're closing out, but just one thing to end Mental Awareness Month. Please make sure you reach out to EAP if you need help. Any assistance, call the local 211 if you need any help. Also tap into, we have coaches here that can assist you. Just don't try to do that walk alone.
Most important, you don't have to. So we thank y'all for tuning in for this last part in our 4-part series for Mental Health Awareness Month. Tasha, thank you. Tasha, thank you. Shamar, thank you for sharing your most authentic self and just kind of giving of yourself right here for this hour, for this last special PRM chat in this 4-part series. We wish y'all a happy rest of your Saturday, that you do something enjoyable despite the rain. The rain is really God's, really pouring down his blessing on us. So if you think about it optimistically, right, that, it's really God's, it's blessings, it's showers of blessings, Okay, so we're thankful for God's showers of blessings, and we wish y'all an amazing Memorial Day weekend. Stay blessed and encouraged, and again, you have whatever is within you to overcome any obstacle that you're going through.
Have a great weekend.
Take care.
Peace.